When was the last time you said yes when your entire body was actually saying no? What is the difference between being kind or actually abandoning yourself for pleasing others? And how does that relate to self-respect? I have the best guest today to speak about these topics, Dr. Katherine Iscoe. She's an author and a keynote speaker. I'm Katherine and I'm your host for Sparrow Podcast. Hi, Katherine. Today it's like the power double trouble because we are both Katherine.
Yes.
And I already feel like the synergy of energies here. I feel like you're like so bright and you have something that makes people like comfortable around you. This is how I feel.
Oh, that might be one of the nicest compliments I've ever had. That is so kind. Thank you.
Yes, so lovely to have you here. And I, did a little bit of research about you, and then I was so surprised about your incredible life story. And I remember we met at an event, and even there, like I noticed you were having one of the brightest smiles around, and this like open energy. And I feel like it's so incredible that many times people who have this bright smile, they often carry so many scars inside. And I would love to know more about your story. I noticed as well that you mentioned you even became like a chameleon in a way, just to make sure you fit in.
Oh, it's so true. And it's funny that I think for many, many years, I was a person smiling but feeling anything but, whereas now it's absolutely genuine. So when I met you that first time, I remember being the person that didn't know anyone in the room, and I was just wanting someone to come up to me. And I smile when I feel it, and I don't when I don't. So I think that's been a journey for sure. But being a chameleon, fitting yourself in, trying to push yourself into a box has definitely been something that I've done a lot of over the many past years.
And I've seen you also have a PhD.
One of the chameleon traits, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like in which field?
It's in a field that I don't do anything or talk anything about. So that journey happened. I have to take you back a bit. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a chef. And so I'll say the long story short is I opened up a restaurant that went bankrupt, and both my parents are academics. So they said, why don't you give school a try? And one of my many loves, I always wish I had, like centuplets that I could just like put my different persons out there, and one of them could be a fashion designer, the other one could be a cook. But one of the things that I've always loved is ice hockey and sports and football. So I wanted to become a medical doctor for a football team or a hockey team. So I thought, go to school and start my medical journey. And that, first degree turned into 2 degree, turned into 3 degree. And it was in the field of biotechnology and patients with type 1 diabetes. And it was a kind of thing, it was almost like getting on a train. And even though there were stops along the way, I just became so comfortable sitting on that train because it was safe. Academia was safe. And it was also very respected. So when I would introduce myself to people, they would ask me, what do you do? Oh, I'm studying my master's in biotechnology. Like, look at me kind of thing. That was safe. Whereas to say something along the lines of, I was doing my master's, but then I quit because I wasn't happy at all. And now I don't know what I'm going to do. That would be mortifying. And looking back, it's that kind of like that cotton wool that we wrap ourselves in. And really what we need to understand at that time is really no one is judging us. We are the worst judges of ourselves. And it's incredible how many hours, days, weeks, years we worry about that judgment, when really the judgment that we have to be worried about is the one that's, reflecting back in the mirror. And I wish I would have known that then.
I know you were talking also about self-numbing and numbing your self-conscious at a very young age. How does choosing yourself look like for you today?
I'll give you an example. So I was recently put into the box of perimenopause, and I think I'm literally telling everyone about this. I feel very proud to be in this category. But the point being is, for the past several years, I've just been feeling off. And interestingly, that's one of the top characteristics of being in perimenopause. I just don't feel like myself. Now, the other side of that would have been just to keep on smiling, just say, yeah, I'm fine. But I've actually recently, probably in the last 2 months, drawn a line in the sand and said, my health is a priority. I actually go to sleep at about 8:30 at night. Sleep is a massive priority. My diet is a massive priority. And when I say diet, as in not cutting calories, but what I eat, my stress levels. So I don't make up an excuse. If I don't want to do something, I don't say, oh, sorry, I'm busy. I just say, that's not really for me right now. I want to be in bed by 8 p.m. Pros and cons to that. The pros is, obviously, I can create my own life schedule. The negatives is a social aspect. My partner is a massive social person. He's a walking stomach. He loves going out for dinner. And that's been really challenging. So oftentimes when we think about boundaries, we think about boundaries with other people. But sometimes, to your point, is the boundaries have to be with ourselves. What is important for my life right now to get me to where I want to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So that's putting myself first.
And how does that feel? Do you feel like more empowered, or do you feel like you're blooming?
I feel, and it's interesting that you use the word blooming. It's been I won't get into, the treatment, but I'm on hormonal replacement therapy. And it's a kind of thing that you cannot imagine the difference it makes to feeling more like yourself. So that, coupled with meeting incredible people, because I've only recently just moved to Dubai, the energy here is next level. The support I've received from people is something to this day, I still give thanks for every day. And it's because of these factors, these puzzle pieces that are starting to fit together, that I truly feel like I am blooming or I'm evolving. And it's interesting, I'm really fascinated with the etymology of words. Etymology just means where words come from. And if you look at the etymology of the word evolution, it means to roll out what has been once rolled up. And I think we go through many different states of evolution in our life. As kids, I don't know if you have any like 3, 4, 5-year-olds in your life. They're amazing. They're just the embodiment of themselves. They walk up to you, they will fart in your face, laugh, and then run away and be like, yeah, that was me. No. And then things happen. Someone insults us, someone bullies us, we start to close up. We went from being kids to rolling up a bit. Then adulthood, things happen. Some of us experience things that no one should ever go through. Some of us experience the kind of things that will fill our body with shame. We roll up more. We start to imprison ourselves. Self-respect is a remembering that I'm important just the way I am. It helps you to unroll. It doesn't help you become someone else. It actually just reminds you who you were, that kid laughing at silly things, the kid that asks, I don't understand, even though you might look stupid by asking that question. That to me is the blossoming. That to me is the evolution. And that's why I'm so incredibly passionate about what I do and what I talk about. Because whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. We all go through these bumps, these journeys in our life. And remembering who we actually are is that ability to unfold and say, you know what, I'm not perfect, but this is me.
It is how it is. I think, anyway, I talk too much with my hands, so normally I try, to be more conscious.
It's hard.
That.
I'm a massive hand. Yeah. I think I'm past Italian mafia.
I'm from Romania.
Yes,
so
my background's Romanian.
No way.
Yeah, Iscovic.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was truncated to Iscoe. So I think it was either my grandfather or my great-grandmother. So I'm not half Romanian, I'm Canadian. But yeah,
somewhere there on the line.
Yeah, the gymnast in me, I think.
Okay. I think sometimes we are, we are neglecting our self-respect. but without even realizing it. So what are like some invisible ways when we abandon ourselves?
One of the most common ones is to stay silent when you speak up, or even that's a perfect example. You know, when you make a mistake and you can't stop thinking about it, it's a mistake. That doesn't mean that you're a mistake. But I think especially speaking up, like, oh, sorry, how do you pronounce your name? Or I don't understand that. Or like my partner sometimes he just does things that I just think I'm going to rip you a new one, but I don't say anything. And I let those little things add up to this incredible resentment. So it's those little micro moments to say, actually, babe, can you take the garbage out? I don't really feel like doing it again today. It's those little micro moments that you notice yourself just muting yourself because you're suppressing your discomfort to keep the comfort of others, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And you can feel it. You know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like boiling inside.
Yes, the boiling.
And probably at some point it will
You
burst.
explode.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So this is how it feels when you say yes when
you really
you
want
mean actually no, right?
Yeah. There was I believe he was the Australian of the Year, and I cannot remember his name, but he said something. When you see someone disrespecting someone else, he said the standard you walk by is the standard you accept. Meaning, if you just watch that happen and you walk by it, that standard, by walking by it, you're basically saying that's okay. And oftentimes we do that when it comes to our self-respect a lot. We say, it's not the right time. I'll talk about it later. I'll brush it aside. It's no big deal. But you know it's a big deal because if you've ever had a shower argument, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you're in the shower and all of a sudden you become superhuman. You're like, I'm going to tell you this. And all of a sudden you have this argument with your shampoo bottles. It's that moment. The standards that we accept, just even unconsciously, are the little things that add up over time. And oftentimes we just think, oh, I'll do it next time, or it's not that big of a deal. But it's those little moments when you do speak up, when you do say no, when you don't make up an excuse for why you can't do something. It's those little micro moments that kind of are like bricks that add up to this incredible foundation of self-respect.
So this is how we start, like, to build step by step our self-respect.
Yep.
And do you have any other like habits or advice, like how we can?
Sure. So as a keynote speaker, oftentimes people say, oh, can you just give a talk? And I'll say, yeah, sure. You know, can you talk to me about your budget and talk to me about the event? And they say, oh, we don't have a budget. Could you just talk like it's just talking? Like you're just talking. I'm like, first of all, I don't wake up looking like this. Far from it. You know, makeup, it's the going, it's this. It's also 47 years of experience, 13 years of school that I put into that. That's not just showing up. So one of the things that I've drawn the line in the sand is that I'm very grateful when people ask me to speak, but my time is valuable. You know, I have 2 dogs to feed as well. They're damn expensive. Let me give you the tip. You know, so that's just one example. I remember going to Singapore, and this is actually a story in my book. It's this tiny little seamstress. You know, I had to get my pants hemmed, right, because I'm quite short. So I went in, and typically what I do is I just mark the pants. You take them in, and, you know, they fix them, and you pay when you pick them up. So I just thought it was going to be like that, normal. So went over to her, and I said, oh, excuse me, can I get my pants tailored? I've already marked them. And she said, yeah, leave them there. Pick them up tomorrow at 1:30. So I thought, okay, no ticket. I guess she'll just remember me. And my partner and I started to walk away, and we heard this bellowing voice, you pay me now.
Oh.
And we're like, okay. So we turned, and of course we paid her. And listen, I'm not saying that she's going to get customer service award of the year anytime soon. You know, was she direct? Absolutely. You know, could she refine her approach? Sure. But was she arrogant? No. Because arrogance would have sounded like, I'm the best seamstress in the world, pay me or go someone else. this is a great example of what we do time in and time out, in the sense of it's not the right time, I won't charge. And women do this especially. We have a very interesting relationship with our worth. But I always say, if you don't communicate your worth, the world is going to decide it for you, and it's always going to underestimate it. Incredibly important, especially in today's day where so many women are starting businesses, putting that line in the sand. I'll get off my soapbox because I'm very, very passionate about this topic, and I'll just keep on going.
Okay, but I love that.
Yeah.
I like to see people who are passionate about their topics. And you mentioned something. You mentioned this story is part of your book.
Yes.
So I think this is super exciting.
My baby.
Yes.
This is my new baby.
The baby.
The baby, yes. So it's interesting. A lot of people ask me, oh, how long did it take you to write it? It actually only took me 2 weeks to write the whole thing.
Okay.
Because I knew exactly what I wanted to say. It was like, water taps just opened up. And then it took me about 8 months to refine it. So, polishing the apple. But the way I described this book is how a beta reader actually described it to me. She said, this is a self-help book for people who hate self-help books because it's short. It's for the people who buy the self-help books on Amazon. They're like, they picture themselves, I'm going to make a cup of tea, #self-care, and I'm going to read it on the weekend. I'll lock up my kids. I'll just have some time for it. All those books are on the shelf gathering dust, because it's just, they're too long to read. This one you can read in a couple hours. It is my story, because why am I the person to talk about self-respect? Because I know exactly how it feels like to live a life without it. The 7 non-negotiables of self-respect, and then a really, really inspirational and aspirational story to sort of nudge you on your way. So I'm very proud of this. So yes, it should be online in the next few weeks. So very excited.
Okay. Can I please have a look as well?
Of course. You may touch the book.
Yes. Yes, I did it. Overthinkers, overdoers, and overgivers.
Yes. The Self-Respect Playbook. Yeah, because it's interesting. I had some amazing people that have been supporting me for many, many years, and I got them to beta read it, and we worked on the title together. And originally it was a self-respect playbook for people pleasers, but a lot of people didn't actually resonate with the word people pleaser. So they would read it, they would see it, and they're like, oh, yeah, but I'm not really a people pleaser. Then they would read the book, and they would say, oh, I'm a people pleaser. But we wanted to, and I say we because it was such a team effort, we wanted to rename it for something that I think would capture, I guess, a broader audience in that sense. So I'm very proud of this book. So it's going to be an ebook, a physical book, and then an audio book as well.
Okay. I like it. And very, very interesting. I actually just opened the book randomly. Yeah. And what does it say? The seamstress who knew her worth.
Oh, that's the story.
That's the story you just
That's
told.
meant to be.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's a good one. How would your life change if you stopped worrying about what others think and followed what you truly want?
Yes. So rather than, I remember a coach telling me many, many years ago, a keynote speaking coach, and they said, oh, you have to tell people what to do. You have to give them actionable steps, like 1, 2, 3. That never sat right with me, because at the end of the day, I talk about self-respect, the operative word being self, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know you better than you know yourself. And at the end of the day, I think you know what you need to do to build your self-respect. The question is why? Why don't we do the things that we know will build our self-respect? So rather than give you, 10 ways to build self-respect, I have peppered through the book open-ended questions, such as the one that you just read out. And these are the ones that I would love for people to read and then have shower conversations with themselves. Or if they're on a walk, these are the ones that I call them ossobuco. Ossobuco is an amazing Italian dish.
Ah, yes, I know it.
So it's a kind of dish that you can't just, fry and serve. You fry, you add some, mirepoix, you add this, you add a little vino, a little, and you just let it cook and cook. And the more you let it simmer, the more flavor it develops. And that's exactly what happens with the open-ended questions. You sort of chew on you let them braise and develop flavor. And it could take an hour, it could take a year for you really, really to chew on that question and get to the bottom of it. But I truly believe that everyone has the answers. This book It's just helping you find those answers a little bit quicker.
I actually like this idea. I think it's super powerful that this is kind of like a light in the fire, and you just need to find your own way to the light.
But it.
There is no I also believe there is no clear answer or 15 steps to achieve this or that, because we are so unique, and every person has their own way for their self-discovery. Yes.
That's it. And I think oftentimes we look for solutions to make our life easier.
Yes.
And I always think life is never going to get easier. It's actually probably going to get harder the more you try to accomplish. Yet we still think, one day, when we make more money, life will get easier. Life is never going to get easier. What does get easier is your ability to navigate life. So when those problems occur, rather than just you being paralyzed and, being on the couch and watching Netflix to avoid that, we learn the skills to help us navigate, to help us look at that situation from a different perspective. Sometimes the way I describe it is life is like a horse, right? You can either look at life from the nose end, which is a lot prettier, or you can look at it from the other end where all the crap comes out. But life is still going to be that horse, and it just depends on how you look at it. Your perspective is how you approach things. So an example might be, just use an example, let's say you have a client and they're really, really upset with something that you've done. Looking at it from the bum end would be, all my clients are going to be like that. I'm never going to be able to fix it. I should just quit. The nose end would be, this is actually a really good learning experience. This is going to be highly uncomfortable. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix it, but gosh golly, I'm going to try. And I wonder what I'm going to be able to learn from this to do better later. At the end of the day, if you're not falling down often in life, you're just coasting. You're just ticking the box. You're just saying, it's another Monday. Let me just get through this week. Rather than asking the question, when is the last time I really fell down and I learned something significant? The archer fish, there's this fish that basically is in the water and it shoots water up to get an insect. And it will try and try and try, and it'll just adjust, and finally it will get the insect. That's how we have to think about life a lot. We can't really see what we're aiming for, but we just keep on spitting. We just keep on trying to get that insect, and sometimes we'll actually achieve what we achieve. And then we do the bigger the goal, the bigger the goal.
And kind of, I think, following your instinct, that strong gut feeling that it's not always backed up by rationality, but of course there should be in our decisions also some sort of rationality.
Sure.
We cannot just live based on
of course,
on a feeling or an emotion. I think it needs to be a balance. But as you said, that fish, he needs to jump out of his normal environment to another one, and he trusts himself so much that at some point he will achieve what he's aiming for. So
that's exactly it.
Yeah, I think we need to trust that drive inside of us.
And sometimes that takes time. Trusting my gut instinct when I was 16-year-old, not a good idea. I didn't have a lot of wisdom then. Heck, I definitely shouldn't. But as we go, and this is the benefit of making a mistake, there's nothing in life that is going to teach you faster than making a mistake. Yet oftentimes when we make a mistake, we think we are a mistake. We fuse the two ideas. We think we'll never get this. There's something wrong with us. We have to defuse these two ideas. I've made a mistake, but I'm not a mistake, meaning there's not, nothing wrong with me. And I think this comes from, if you've ever had someone say, I'm so disappointed in you. Maybe a parent has said that to you, or a partner or a friend. I'm so disappointed in you. And if we're in this mistake mindset, we don't hear that. We hear you're a disappointment as a person. There's something wrong with you. We fuse the two. So this is what we need to think about when we're making mistakes. Email that person that you think is out of your league to ask them on the podcast, what could happen? They don't respond. Yippee coyote. moving on.
Yeah.
You're going to refine your approach. You're going to be like, when you look back at that email that you sent them, you're like, you know what? I think I can improve this. Keep on trying. That's the thing. And whether it's middle age or not, I have no qualms doing anything now because I just think about risk is seeking knowledge. It's a great way to look at the word risk, R-I-S-K. Risk is seeking knowledge.
Wow.
So that's how we think about it.
Wow, I love that. And seeing here the word for overthinkers. Do you think that overthinking comes from a place that shows that we are not trusting ourselves enough and trusting our own decisions and our own mechanism to get to a certain point?
Of course. I heard this term that's a little bit vulgar the other day, but it's mental masturbation. Ooh. It's basically when you just keep on thinking and you coax yourself into saying, oh, this is important. I'm planning. This is important to whatever it is I want to do. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes it is. This is where those gut instincts, I think, come to play. But overthinking is when you end up doing nothing at all. It feels productive, but it's anything but. If you want to put it back.
Yes. Oh, the emotional exorcism.
Oh, yes, that was a good one.
You don't seem like yourself.
Yes, that's
very interesting. I would love to have a copy once this is available.
Once it's out, yes. I'm just working with a printer now to spawn more children, my babies.
Is this your first book or?
It's my third book, actually. So the first one was a cookbook. That's in one of my former lives. The next one was a body confidence book. But this one is the one that I can say is everything for me. This is the one that could not be any more proud of. It is like my heart.
You on the plate.
It's yeah. Whereas the other two books, without diving into the mundane details, it was a little bit of someone telling me this is the book that you should write, so I'll write it. The second one was I better write a book just to tick that box. Whereas this one, like I said, it just flowed out of me because I know these are the kinds of stories that I think will be relatable to people. So even though they might be reading my story, they're actually thinking of their own story, which is the most important thing to me.
And speaking of a cookbook, I'm curious, where did that come from? Do you love cooking?
Love it. So when I was young, that's what I wanted to be, a chef. Yeah. So, and after opening my catering business, a restaurant and catering business, going bankrupt, that was the only reason probably why I'm not a chef right now. It's really the only reason. It's just, it's where I get in my flow state, which I think everyone has.
But how did you bounce back from that bankruptcy?
Oh gosh, social support.
Did you
my parents
pick up your pieces to go again?
Yeah, I think it wasn't easy. I think because my family, my mom and my dad, who were separated, I was divorced at the time. But I think without them, I think I would be a little bit more challenged. But I think that brings up a good point: is our ability to ask for help. Very challenging for people pleasers because our mindset says, well, what we're going through is nothing compared to so-and-so is going through. And we think asking for help, especially if we're high achievers or ambitious people, we think that must mean that we don't know what we're doing. But asking for help is actually the quickest way to get to where you want to go. And that's another one of the stories in the book. And just to give you a truncated version, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was at my first ever conference, and I thought, I'll walk to the conference because it was a beautiful day. Now, Washington, D.C. is on a grid system, so you have letters one way, numbers the other. So I had to go to, from memory, it was 18J. So I was like, great. And this is, again, 20 years ago. There was no maps. There was maps, but no phones. Yeah. So I'm walking, and I think, I should really be there by now. Kept on. I'm like, I'll just walk a little bit further. Then I'm noticing the houses. I'm like, there's bars on the window and all the lawns are really just disheveled. And I just kept on walking. And I was like, finally, I saw this intersection. I mean, it was a really scary neighborhood. And I saw these 2 cop cars. And again, speeding up the story, they said, get in the car. We're going to drive you to wherever you need to go. Ooh. I was like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm like, you have, murderers to deal with. You don't need to worry about me. They're like, get in the car. So I remember the cop dropped me off at the conference and I was mortified. I was just mortified. Like, here I am, a master's student studying implantable biotechnology, endocrinology, on scholarship. I just graduated summa cum laude, like intelligent, yet I couldn't even find a conference in a city with a grid system. I was like, this is ridiculous. And he explained my mistake. Yes, it's on a grid system, but it repeats in quadrants. So there's 11J Northeast, 11J Southeast. So there's 4 different, right? So I just walked miles and miles and miles into the wrong directions. I was just absolutely mortified. And so I got out of the car to the red carpet in this amazing conference center. And I said, I'm so sorry to have wasted your time. I'm absolutely mortified. He said, listen, you can either go through stumbling through life and try to figure things out on your own, or you can just ask for help and get to where you need to go a lot faster. And that's a really, really good recipe for life in general. We can continue to just stumble through life. I went bankrupt. Who do I think I am? I'm never going to be able to achieve anything again. Or we can get to where we want to go a lot faster by just saying, I need help. I screwed up. I'm really lost. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. And I got to where I needed to go a lot faster. Asking for help is one of the most critically important things that we can do, especially as leaders, because as leaders, we're meant to lead the way. We're the first through wherever we need to go. But that doesn't mean that we know what we're doing. Especially coming back to what I said before, if we're doing anything worth doing, there's going to be no recipe book for it. It's not going to be that you can open up a book and say, oh, okay, I want to open a multi-global conglomerate, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to go step 1, step 2, step 3. It doesn't happen that way. When we talk about innovation and creativity, whether you're have a podcast studio, if you have a dentist office, if you're writing a book, when we talk about innovation and creativity, doing what has already been done is not innovation and creativity. Innovation and creativity is falling down, making mistakes, and saying, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you give me some help? Can you give me a suggestion? And then going, if that makes sense.
For sure. And actually, very interesting that you mentioned the part with asking for help, because just the other day I saw like a reel on social media, and it was a question, what is one of the bravest things that you have done in life? And there was like a little boy saying, help, asking for help. It's not a real story. It's like a cartoon, but it really touched my heart. And it's like asking for help is not giving up. It's actually refusing to give up.
Beautiful. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. That's exactly it. Beautiful. I want to see that post now.
Yes, I will send it to you. And I have a question, something which is also on my mind, and I'm reflecting sometimes about it. And I have to say, I tend to be a people pleaser, guilty. And where is this boundary, like between being like a nice, kind person and being like strict with your boundaries? And does imposing boundaries make you feel like cold or selfish? Where is that area, like where I want to be a nice person, I want to, like be kind. I believe in kindness.
Yes. But, it's very challenging because especially if you've been a people pleaser for years, and many of us have, many of us grew up with a generation of the nice girl area, being the good girl, Don't speak about yourself. Wait until someone else is, don't do your stuff first. Always help others. So when you've been raised in that kind of mindset for years, if not decades, it's very difficult to think out of that. You can't change the mindset with the same mindset that you're in it. It's kind of like you can't see the picture of your life because you're inside the frame, right? So you don't know what's around you. So when it comes to the spectrum, we have people pleasing on one side, and then we have narcissism on the other. So people pleasing is all about selflessness. I'm going to help you. I'm, almost to the point of martyrdom. Then the other side is the narcissist, which is everything revolves around me. I'm first. Nobody else matters. Now, when it comes to going from a people pleaser to being more of a healthy, quote unquote, normal person, the challenge with us is being a little bit selfish. For example, saying, sorry, no, I can't do that, feels like we're becoming narcissists because we don't know any different. So we think, if we're a little bit selfish, we're just going to end up down there and we're going to go to hell. Like we think saying no is the equivalent of killing a nun. It's like, how could you say no? What is your mother going to say about you? So what we need to recognize is being a little bit selfish. There's actually something that I call healthy selfishness, which is incredibly important for people pleasers. I'll give you a really, really benign example. So my partner loves going out for, food, steak, and so forth. So I remember this once we went to this very fancy schmancy steak restaurant. Right? Now, I used to work in restaurants. I worked in the kitchen. So I know what happens, back there. I know it's high stress. And I feel for the chefs and the sous chefs and the line cooks. So we get our steaks, and mine is not cooked well at all. Like it's basically still mooing. And I'm like
Gordon Ramsay would say, it can go back to the field.
Yeah. And so my partner is like eating his, and he can see that I'm not happy with mine. I'm like, it's okay. And in my head, I'm thinking I would rather get food poisoning than ruin the chef's day. That is a great example of something that's incredibly benign. So a little bit of selfishness, healthy selfishness to get you from people pleasing a little bit closer to normalcy would be to say to the waiter, this looks really good. And then you ask for your request. May I please get it done too? And that's it. Now in your mind, you're already catastrophizing. You're already overthinking. You're thinking that the chef is going to be mad. They're going to spit on it. They're going to step on it. They're going to do this. So you create this whole catastrophe in your mind. Now, will that happen? Maybe. Chances are likely not. So we have to watch that overthinking and just choose those little small things. Or if you're at the deli and you say, may I get this shaved rather than sliced? Or hairdresser, as an example. This is a hard one because hairdressers are so incredibly passionate and,
and
proud
of their work.
Exactly. But this is a perfect example of how many people do you know have walked out of one hairdresser and said, oh, I love it, to immediately find another hairdresser and say, please fix this. That. I'm sure we have all done that at least once in our life. That is a perfect example of where you're putting someone else's feelings before your own. And listen, there's a tactfulness to it. Like the seamstress, I don't think saying, this is crap, fix it now, probably not the best way to do it. A little baby step could be, this is really uncomfortable for me to say. I'm trying to be more vocal. So please just, work with me on this. But it really hasn't turned out the way I thought. And I wanted to vocalize this to you rather than think about this at 2 a.m. I think, I want to continue this. Whatever you want to say, be honest. Say this is really uncomfortable. Like my partner will eat cornflake for dessert. I'm like in the corner, like, So we've developed something, it's called pickled onion. So if I need to say something, he picked the word, he loves pickled onion. So that's our safe word. Safe word is, honey, can we have a pickled onion conversation? And he immediately knows that inside my heart rate is about 2,000. I'm like, and he puts his like lawyer debater mindset out of the way. And he just says, my girlfriend's freaking out. I'm just going to listen to her, listen to what she has to say. I say, okay. And then I start. So it's these little things, I've been people pleaser for most of my life. I'm not going to become,
overnight.
No, it's these
Narcissist.
small little acts.
I feel like for people pleasers, there is also a sense of guilt in the moment they start to impose boundaries. And you're feeling like, oh my God, like, what did I do? And am I really a good person or not? And then you start kind of like ruminating. I mean, this in combination with overthinking, then it's like a bomb.
Yep.
Do you think this guilt is in us because does it originate from our like childhood and our experiences with our primary caregivers? Or like
For sure, there's something called the fawn response, and every time I talk about it, I always forget about the researcher, his name. I want to say it's Martin.
Cheers to the researcher.
Yeah, cheers to the researcher.
Whoever you are.
There's fight, flight, freeze, and so there's a fawn response as well. So he worked with patients that dealt with childhood trauma, and what he found was this please and appease, this fawn response. An example might be, little Jimmy's at the kitchen table doing his homework, and his dad comes in, slams the door, walks right by Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, obviously absorbs that to himself, so he knows. Little Jimmy says, I better be a good boy now. I better not shake the apple donkey cart or whatever you call it. I'm just going to be good. Then the next day, father comes home, closes the door. Hey, Jimmy, and, ruffles his hair. It's like, how was your day? So little Jimmy's like, okay, maybe I can get away with it a little bit more. So all of a sudden, you're changing your behavior based on someone else's behavior. So when it comes back to that guilt, it's really more so that you're living your life through the lens of someone else. You're constantly, it's almost like you're hyper vigilant, and empaths are especially like this. So if you really feel what someone else is feeling, oftentimes you're hyper vigilant to even the smallest micro change in facial expression, body movement. So when it comes back to that whole guilt thing, we're almost jumping to conclusion of what they may experience. So we don't want to do that. We'd rather just put ourselves last so we can put them first. It's very common.
True. Yeah. And I think this applies as well when you have like difficult conversations with your partner. And especially probably this, for some people also created this like anxious attachment style. And in combination with all the others, like people pleasing and overthinking. And then when it comes to having a difficult conversation, you would rather just keep it to yourself.
Yep. Stay silent.
Yeah.
I always say speak up, or your silence is going to say a lot more about you than anything that you may mess up. And oftentimes with conversations, when we go, like, let's say we have a fight with our friend, we go into that thinking, I just want to prove I'm right. That's the ego in us. But one thing to consider is, rather than trying to prove you're right, why not just make things right? It's a big difference between those two mindsets. Proving I'm right is saying, this is why I'm right. This is where you're wrong. I win, you lose. That conversation is going to go nowhere fast.
For sure.
For sure. If you go in with the mindset of, doesn't matter who's right or wrong, I just want to make things right between us because I care about it. This conversation is likely going to get uncomfortable, but I want to keep it in the back of my mind. At the end of the day, the outcome that I want is I want to make things right. I don't want to prove I'm right. I want to make things right. That's when you get connection. That's when you show not only respect for someone else, but you also show respect for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you are right, good for you. What's more important, proving you're right or making things right with someone that you care about deeply?
I love this mindset.
Good.
And speaking of boundaries, which one was for you the hardest to implement in your life? And I'm curious to know if you still have any boundary which you still would like to impose there, but you're still reluctant to do.
For sure. I think the one that I'm definitely working on is still getting back to doing work for free. And this is something that I think a lot of people deal with, especially in the speaking industry. And I remember, and this is going to be a bit of a bitey topics, so just bear with me here. I remember being told after giving a talk once, this woman said, well, but if you're helping one person, isn't it worth it? As a Canadian, we are literally genetically engineered to say sorry and help people. Like that's how literally we are born. So I get it. You know, when I give a really impassioned talk and someone comes up to me and says, never thought of it this way, you've changed my life, nothing feels better. But the difficulty with that mindset is you before me, if that makes sense. I'm going to help others before myself. And then I heard something from Oprah. You can't help people if you're broke. I thought, Oprah, you're right again, baby. You're right again. But it's really, really difficult because I know what it feels like to be a person in the audience who feels like their life is going nowhere, to feel like they're in the dark, to feel like they're not special. That feeling kills me. And it's that's why I want to be on stage and say the stories that I do. But at the end of the day, I'm getting older and I have bills to pay. So this is the one that I'm really trying hard to work on, is put that line in the sand is I love giving a talk, but my time isn't free. Still working on that boundary.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I'm just like, sure, yes. Yeah, hard one.
Yes, for sure.
Hard one, because I love it. I love meeting people. I love hugging, as you probably saw, I hugged half the people in the room when we met.
Yeah.
I love people and I love that connection. I'm addicted to that. But yeah, this is something that I'm really trying to change my mindset on.
It will come for sure.
It will come, yes.
And I have here like some rapid fire questions.
Okay,
You are
let me
ready.
get comfortable. Here we go.
Ooh. Let's see. What is one boundary you wish you set earlier in your life?
Health. Things to do with my health and my sleep, putting a line in the sand, saying not doing more, doing less, for sure.
What drains you fastest?
Not sleeping, for sure. Absolutely. It's a huge priority in my life right now. Like my 8:30 p.m. in bed.
Wow.
I know, just call me Nana Cat.
But then you're like an early bird, I guess.
I am, but that's when everything's quiet. I watch the sunrise. I have my little bird feeders. So I have, Bob the finch come sing me a song.
For me, it's the opposite. I'm a night owl.
Yeah, that's my partner.
At 8:30, like my brain starts like bailando.
and that's the thing. So you do that's self-respect. That's boundaries. You do what's good for you.
Yeah. What recharges you fastest?
Ooh, being with my dogs for sure. I should probably say my partner. Sorry, babe.
Hello.
I have a very special bond with dogs. I mean, I've grew up with dogs and especially my first one, which was a Siberian Husky. There's a story behind it, but essentially it through therapy, I actually learned that this connection with my dog was more important than I ever thought. And so I think it's this connection with dogs that's very important. Because at the end of the day, you could have the crappiest day and they're just like, this is the best day ever, you're home.
Yeah.
So it's an immediate recharge.
Did you bring them with you from Canada or
from Australia? Yeah.
from Australia.
Yeah, from Australia. So they made the trip, and I was worried about them the entire time.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure. One habit you are trying to build.
I think more exercise. It's interesting. I always in Australia I would walk a lot, but it's less about the exercise and more about the thinking. Is just getting the steps in. I'm so addicted to work right now, like as in positively so that I need to let go of my computer and go for a walk on the beach a little bit more often. That's definitely a habit. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. What is an emotion you try to avoid?
I don't avoid any emotion. That is a hard and fast rule. Do not avoid emotions. That is the quickest way to get sick. Yeah. So whether it's a bad emotion, a good emotion, although I never say bad and good, they're just emotions that are more uncomfortable than others. And I dive into those emotions. I never run away from them. They're the best teaching tools. I always ask, like, as an example, like let's say I walk out of here and I'm thinking about something I said and I start to feel like maybe frustrated or angry or ashamed, rather than just like sort of saying, well, get out of my head, I think, okay, why do I feel that way? Do I feel like I've disappointed someone? Do you think so I learn from it. It's definitely something that no one should avoid.
Yeah, it's also something that I try to work with now. And, trying to put that in my mind that emotions are not facts. And trying to let it like wash through me, but not keeping them there. Because I have a tendency to maybe store them, And now I'm trying, to just release or allow it to move through me without like attaching
Pulling
me,
onto it.
Like let go or get dragged.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. Lisa Feldman Barrett, she's an amazing researcher, I believe, out of Stanford. She talks about emotional agility, just for any listener who's really interested in learning how to sort of dance with emotions. The way she describes it, even from a biological and physiological perspective, is emotions are just data that are created from past experiences. So, for example, a roller coaster. Do you like roller coasters?
Yes.
Okay, so you might love them. So when you picture that roller coaster, you might feel joy, you might feel happiness, you might even get like, those good sort of butterflies in your stomach. For a person who's had a bad experience on a roller coaster, they might immediately go into fear, their heart rate might going up, right? So our emotions are just stories. It's just data that is made up with our brain. And that's why I think it's so incredibly important to listen to them rather than run from them.
I like it. It was supposed to be like rapid fire
Sorry,
questions.
yes, I know.
No. It's. I feel like it's a good exchange.
Good.
It's getting a bit deeper into the topic. And I have one more.
Of course.
What makes you feel powerful?
Staying true to myself, which is actually a tattoo on my arm. So this is my dad's writing. It says, "To thine own self be true, love Dad." So I got him to write it out 10 times on a piece of paper. It's from, it's not him, it's Shakespeare. And it was a story when Polonius was talking to his son who was going off to university. It says, "To thine own self be true, and if follows the night by day, thou shalt never be false to any man." The point is just be true to yourself and good things will happen. So that is something I live by.
Yeah, very deep. And very short. I have one more small game.
Sure.
Please complete the sentence. I show myself love by...
My first thought was shoe shopping, which is so bad.
I actually noticed that online as well.
I love
about
shoes.
You.
I love shoes. So say that again. So I show myself love by?
Yes.
I think talking about things that bother me. Only because that's a big one. It's kind of this horrible, my partner is going to kill me for using this analogy, but holding in thoughts is kind of like holding in a fart. You're just going to get cramps. It's going to be very uncomfortable. And we've all been in that situation where we're just like, in a meeting or on a date and like everything is just holding in. And then we get home and we let it out and it's just everything is better. And so I think talking is kind of like that. We need to fart more often.
Okay.
That was a metaphor, just saying.
A promise I recently made to myself is...
meeting new people every week.
Okay.
Meeting new people every week. People are just amazing here. So just
they are,
learning.
Yes.
Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah. I break the people-pleasing cycle by...
standing my ground on my fees.
And I respect myself too much to...
To say something that... I'll give you an example of this, and only because people-pleasing or high-achieving or anything that I think... Sometimes we want to package our thoughts up into these nice little easy-to-understand packages. And I remember working with a consultant, and she would just say, "What do you think about this?" And I would say, "Bleh." And she just looked at me and she was incredible. She just knew, she could read me, and she's like, I don't think you think that. Like, you're right. And so then I would say, well, this is what I really think. Oh. And I remember she always had to tell, because she would either go like this if I said something that was a bit boring, or she would go, oh, and lean forward. And so when it comes to, I respect myself too much to just say the thing that probably everyone's expecting. Now I'm just like, no, I don't think that way. This is what I think. If hopefully this is making sense. Like,
it is.
I want to share what I truly think, not what's comfortable. You know, I always say that I like to talk about things that people don't like to talk about or feel uncomfortable talking about. So I respect myself too much to just say the kosher thing, to say the easy to understand copacetic thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. That's a wrap, baby.
Woo! There you go.
Double
Thank
trouble,
you so
Katherine.
much. Double trouble. Love it. Thank you so much for having me.
I thank you for accepting to be here and sharing all these incredible stories with us.
Thank you.